Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I'm here with my good friend, Miss Noma Langam with Shally Moses. How you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Now, you and I love to do a segment called Boyce and Noma Langa where we talk about some of the things that are happening in the world. And today, you felt compelled to jump into this debate over Camille Cosby, the wife of Bill Cosby, and whether or not Camille was right to defend her husband the way she did. She issued a statement recently, which people can read. They can read it at Your Black World or at the sites where you blog, Healthy Black Woman and Naturally Moi, and they can read what basically Camille seems to be doing, which is she's basically saying, it seems, that she's standing by her husband, that he may be the victim, and she even compares what's happened to Bill to that recent Rolling Stone magazine article, the 9,000-word article with all these rape allegations that turned out to not be true, mainly because they only talked to the alleged victim and didn't even speak to the people who were being accused, which just baffles me that they would do something like this. You wrote a piece kind of saying, look, don't shame Camille Cosby for standing by her man. What led you to kind of come to this conclusion?
Well, I wanted to let you know also that this is a conversation that I've had before. I think it was a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm inclined to think it was about a week ago. I saw a couple of posts on some women's walls that basically said, "How dare Camille stand by him? And if she's standing by him, she's enabling him, and she's saying that what he did is okay," and so forth. And I felt myself have a very strong reaction to that. I've said it before that I want to stop talking about Bill Cosby because I did an interview early on when the story unfolded, and I said what I had to say. And I think the no good comes from talking about it over and over again, because if it turns out that he's not 100% guilty, we've kind of contributed to him being maligned and having his name dragged through the mud. So I said I wasn't talking about him anymore. But I do want to talk about Camille Cosby. And this is what I said. I said, as a married woman, when you take those vows, you're taking vows to be with your husband through thick and thin, till death do you part. And I said, not until allegations are thrown at him, which, a lot of people are saying it looks like it's true because there's so many women. But the truth is, there's still allegations, and even if it turns out that they're true, it's not till allegations are validated that you stay married. You stay married until it's forever. I've always said that, and I think I've been consistent with my message that as a wife, your role is not to be the media, it's not to be the judge, it's not to be what, it's to be a supporter and encourager and stand by your husband. And I think that it's unfair for people to point out what Camille is doing when actually she has not done anything. She's blameless in this whole thing.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you've heard people use terms like, slut shaming when you're talking about, those who are victims of sexual assault, which we know is a very serious crime. But it almost seems like sometimes people go so far to the point where they're doing what you and I might call wife shaming. Yes. It says, if you stand by your husband and support your family, in the middle of, say, allegations of abuse or allegations of assault of any kind, that you're somehow that you're weak, that there's something wrong with you, that you're not standing up for the cause of women, and I find that really interesting that that we kind of get to that other extreme where it says, oh my God, you didn't divorce your husband and throw him out with the trash. What's wrong with you? What kind of woman are you? It almost seems like that's kind of like this pitchfork justice that we're kind of seeing now. Is that kind of what you're seeing as well?
I do see that as well. And the thing about me is I've never been for standing up for women. If standing up for women means that we're tearing apart families and ruining young children's lives by tearing their families apart, I don't advocate for that at all. I think that there's a way that we can stand up for women that honors them, honors their husband, honors their children, and honors their families. And if I feel like a message is coming across that's destructive, I won't support it and I will not co-sign that. And that's what I felt about this issue with Camille Cosby. It's almost as if now she's the one being attacked. She's the one being shamed. The spotlight is on her. And I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that it's right. And yes, it is an extreme. It's the other end of the spectrum where I've heard a lot of women say there's slut shaming, there's victim shaming, but you have to look at the fact that no matter how you slice this, if you decide that Bill Cosby is guilty or you decide that he's innocent, she's a victim. Camille Cosby is a victim. She's either the victim in the sense that she's had to be with a man who did these things, or she's a victim in the sense that she's the woman who stands by a man who has had these horrible things happen to her, to him, and as a result of it happening to him, most people know that when something happens to your husband, it happens to you as well. So yeah, she is a victim as well. And in her letter, one of the last things that she says is we have to ask the question, who's the victim?
I think that's really interesting, and you know what it makes me think about, Nola, is you know how we have, even during the recent Iraq war, everyone felt it was an unjust war, but people said, you know what, I don't support the war, but I support the troops. So
Right.
you almost feel that Bill's family, that those are the troops. Those are the ones who are kind of in the middle of this thing. They
Right.
they didn't ask to be caught up in the middle of this controversy, whether Bill did these things or not. I personally come from a position where I feel like Bill maybe could have been a little bit sloppy with his personal life, and I think that there are probably some things that he did that he regrets. You're a married man and you're just hanging out at the Playboy Mansion like it's nothing. But again, who am I to necessarily judge what another person does? But it is kind of interesting, and you look at Claire in terms, or it's not, I call her Claire. Duh, sorry, Camille, not Claire. Which actually I want to get to Claire. That's why I think she was in my mind. And actually, people don't know this, but Claire Hanks on the Cosby Show has the same maiden name that Camille has. A lot of people don't know that Bill really based the Cosby Show family on his own family, actually. But you really feel that she really is kind of a trooper, Camille, because think about this: your husband's most popular show it was built around him having this beautiful love affair with this other woman on screen every other night, and so she, I imagine, maybe got comfortable just with this idea that he's not mine entirely. He's mine partially, but he belongs to the world, and maybe that led her to overlook some things. I don't know. But the last thing that comes to mind too, which relates to your piece, is that not only have you seen people kind of use this scandal as a political tool to really further their agenda, but they've actually, Camille Hanks is not the. I'm using her maiden name. Camille is not the only woman that's being attacked here. I mean, actually, Claire Hanks, on the Cosby Show, there were people who actually attacked her as well. I saw an article on a blog that was titled something like, Claire Huxtable is dead. And it was, and I was like, why are you trying to kill Claire Huxtable? What did she do? And so there was even this sort of resentment of Claire as a character. She's not even a real person, right? As a character, kind of putting, I don't know if they felt that she was putting pressure on women to kind of try to be everything. And I remember thinking, why are people being so mean? I liked Claire Huxtable. I really liked Claire Huxtable. I liked her even more than Michelle Obama. But she's not a real person, but I thought she was great. So, I almost feel like, there are people who are really politicizing this, as opposed to really understanding what this is about. To me, what this is about is, I think that the alleged victims, deserve to have their voices heard. I agree with Camille that these voices were not necessarily vetted before they were put in mainstream media the way they should have been. I think that her standing by her husband is really her choice. I think a woman, we can all agree a woman has a right to choose in every area of her life, not just in abortion, but also in personal decisions. And I think that, we cannot presume that because she did not go out and publicly blast her husband and dump her husband and talk about what a bad person he is, we cannot assume that means that she did not hold him accountable, right? I'm sure that there have been some very awkward conversations in that household that we don't deserve the right to have access to, right? So I think that's important to understand as well. I'll let you get the last word. I know I said a lot, so I didn't even ask a question, but I'd love to get your comment.
Yes, I want to point out that one of the things that you said was you used the word vetting. And that's where I think we often go wrong. When people are trying to vet someone, that's when that word shame comes in, which is a very valid thing. You should vet everything that you hear. You should have the right to ask a few questions about, okay, you're saying this, but what about this? What about this? And so forth, which is vetting. But what often happens is just in the vetting stage, if anybody dares vet a so-called victim or an alleged victim, then that's when that other word, shaming, comes in. So we're not allowed to vet because when we vet, it's called shaming. So that's a key word that Camille pointed out. She says nobody's vetting these people, and the reason why a lot of times that a lot of women are not vetted when they make allegations is that the vetting is then called shaming. And I do appreciate that if a woman has been assaulted or violated in any way, she's already having a very, very difficult and challenging time, and vetting her may feel uncomfortable, it may feel painful. But at the same time, the person who's on the receiving end of this allegation, in other words, the person who's being accused, is also going to have a difficult time and a challenging time and may have their life destroyed by someone making an allegation against them that was not vetted, if it's not vetted. So my final points are consistent. I think that no matter what happens with Bill Cosby, Camille's role is as his wife, and I think that it's important for women to understand their roles. And I know that a lot of people don't like it when people say that. You know, I'm a life balance expert. I believe in balancing marriage, motherhood, and money making. So in every area of your life, you have to be to be good at what you do. You have to be clear about what you're doing. And I think Camille is doing an excellent job of being a wife. She's not in the media. She's not an accuser. She's none of those things. She's a wife, and I think she's doing an excellent job. And I think her piece was outstanding. It was clear. It was concise, and it did not offend, or it should not offend anyone. And
Well,
that's what I stand by.
all right. Well, I love it. I think that we can all agree that vetting is very important, particularly when you look at what happened with the Rolling Stone article. I mean, if you're going to accuse someone of something that's going to destroy their life, at least ask them if they did it. At least go and try to find out what happened. Vetting is not blaming the victim. In fact, if you don't vet, you may be creating a new victim because you're allowing people to make ugly allegations toward others that haven't been properly assessed or processed or
Right.
investigated. And this, all throughout history, there are many examples of this. Even in old, this is a little bit of a tangent, but in the old Soviet Union, when they got to the point where they started making money by incarcerating people, they would allow people who were powerful in the community to just accuse people of things, and they would just lock them up, without giving them much of a trial or anything. So people started just accusing, their enemies and and whoever, because they wanted to get rid of those people because they knew that their accusations would not be vetted. And if you ask my opinion, I think that not only should the accusations be vetted, but if it is clearly determined beyond a reasonable doubt that you falsely accused another person, you need to go to prison just like they were going to go to prison for what they allegedly did to you. I
Right.
think that's only fair, and it makes perfect sense. Well, I want to say thank you very much, Noma Langa. I appreciate your time, and I want everybody to go check out Noma Langa's piece on naturallymoi.com. That's MOI, and the piece is titled, it has her name Noma Langa in it, and it says, I want to say it's called Don't Shame Camille Cosby for Standing by Her Husband. So I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and this is Noma Langa with Shelly Moses, and until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.